The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, aka the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Welcome everyone to Exit Team Nashua. My name's Jessie and I am your host this evening. Tonight in the studio we have Jeff. Thank you for coming, Jeff. Good to see you. Yeah. So welcome. You're a friend of Jared's and I'm very excited to meet you.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you're from close by, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Merrimack, lived in Nashua quite a bit. I currently live in Keene.
Okay.
I got sober out here, moved there.
You got sober in
Nashua.
In Nashua?
Yes.
Okay, that's close to home.
Yes.
To get sober.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell us about, what it was like for you growing up.
So growing up, I was the youngest of 4 boys.
Okay.
I kind of always wanted to fit in with them. You know what I mean? They're all older.
Right.
2 of them are much older.
Okay.
But I always wanted to hang out with them, and they didn't really want me to hang out when I was younger.
When you say much older, how?
2 of my brothers are almost probably 15 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in elementary school. I think they were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
But I do remember this, and this is something I like to bring up, is that I fit in most places and I got along with most people, but I always kind of felt like something wasn't right. Like I didn't fit in, or like everyone got the playbook on life and I didn't, have it.
Yeah.
So I do remember feeling like that when I was younger, doing stuff alone a lot, whatever it may be.
Right.
So I don't know if that played into it or not, but I was also like one of those adrenaline-seeking kids. Like I jumped bridges, I climbed the trees, and mom was yelling at me to get down.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff. I was always in trouble in school, class clown type of thing, and just always seeking that like attention or whatever.
Yeah, even if it's negative.
Right.
I had that too.
Right, breaking things, whatever it may be. Yeah. So. Fast forward a little bit, I got into high school, and up until that point, I did like pretty good in school. But my brothers were so I was 15, my brothers were having a New Year's party, and my parents were letting them drink and like did the whole take the keys thing and all that. But I actually believe Jared might have been there. But they all were drinking, and I wanted to, join in, and my brother's friends all wanted me to join in.
Right.
And my brother didn't want me to. So like they convinced him to let me drink. And, I remember that, just all of us got sloshed and, 50
feeling
of us.
probably.
Right.
That
all of a
must have
sudden,
been great,
I have arrived feeling all
Yeah.
that stuff like it kind of talks about in the big book.
Right.
But the thing that stands out to me the most is the next following week, I was already skipping school and like standing in the garage with like 5 of my friends and stealing my mom's bottle of vodka and like passing it around the garage.
Yeah.
So like it was right from the get, like I was chasing it. So
yeah, that's quick.
it went on like that. I got to 16 years old, I got my license, and then so when I got my license, I was probably a month later, I decided to go up to a party at Plymouth with one of my brother's friends who I was now like hanging out with often. And so we took the trip up there, and we'd been drinking in the morning, and I hadn't really drank too much during the ride up there or anything.
Right.
But we got near Plymouth, and it was really late, and this is like back when you could steal gas. So we were like, oh, we'll just steal gas. And, so we got off the highway, and my brother's friend and his kid Steve was completely trashed. And like we pulled in and the place was closed and we were still trying to like mess with the pump.
Right.
And a cop came in and was like, "What are you guys doing?" And he like went right up to him like, "Hey, we're looking for a gas station."
Oh,
da, 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 da.
God.
And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, I'm gonna get arrested." You know what I mean? So nothing happened. We
didn't
just said
get
half
arrested.
mile down the street. So we took
Wow.
off out of there, and he had like cranked up the music really loud. I was probably going about 40 miles an hour in this little town called Northfields, exit 19 up north. And it just was that split second. I looked off the road to like turn the music down. And when I went to look back up, like there was a tree. And
God.
we hit the tree. And going back there later, like I saw that tree was in the white sideline on the road. Like the tree was like, the line hit it, so it was like I didn't have to drift too far, but
Right.
things happen how they just
So you hit
happen.
the tree.
So I hit the tree head on.
Do you guys get hurt?
I didn't get hurt, but he was seriously hurt.
Yeah.
He was like folded up under the glove box,
So
and
911.
so the neighbors who lived right there came out, and of course we had bottles of liquor, and they just smashed all over me. So I was just covered in whiskey, and there was no getting out of that.
Okay. So you went to jail.
So I didn't go to jail. I was only 16, so I'm still
Okay.
underage.
God.
So
okay. Oh
we
my
both
God.
got brought to the hospital. Yeah.
Wow.
We both got brought to the hospital. He had a serious brain injury, which like
Wow.
led into a coma for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
And like, thank God.
So you're like, is my friend gonna live?
Right. I definitely thought, I didn't know. They're like, "Oh, well, you have, this charge. And if something more serious happens, it's going to be like, vehicular manslaughter." So like
Wow.
16 years old, like
That's-
stuff you just never think would happen to you
Right.
is like already happening.
Yeah.
And so he ended up making a full recovery. Like took a long time.
Right.
They didn't think it was going to happen, but he did.
Yeah.
And that's like a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was in court for 2 years and
Mm-hmm.
facing, vehicular assault and all that, which I had to plead out to.
Right.
So I got introduced to the court really early. So I kind of like strayed more away from alcohol after that,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't stop me from like still dabbling in other
Right.
stuff or hanging out with those same people
Right.
and just following that trend.
Right.
So throughout high school, I was like drinking, smoking. Really, that was it until junior year. I moved down to North Carolina. My dad's like work moved us down there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like mad at the world. You know what I mean? Like,
Rebelling.
oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's school, all
Poor
my
me.
friends are here. Yeah.
Right.
And I also played golf for
Mm-hmm.
high school. So I was really good at golf.
Mhm.
Like it was the one like hobby I had at the time.
Yeah.
So when I moved there, I tried out for the team, which was like the best in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I beat everybody
Cool.
the second day of tryouts. So like I was automatically on the team. So I was like, I probably had something going like in that,
Yeah.
like in that,
Probably could have
field.
done something with that.
right. So after about a month, I got pulled out of class one day and they were like, my coach told me that the school up here was way behind where they were there. So they told me I couldn't play on the team because my grades weren't gonna transfer. So like right then I immediately like, rather than like trying to do the right thing and
Figure it
just
out.
make the best of it
Right.
and like try out again later or whatever.
It was
I
like
got
permission slip to.
it was exactly that. Like
Yeah.
I got the case of like, screw this.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm
the
not
excuse you've been looking for, probably.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up like, and then they told me I had to go to school, but none of it would count until like next year. So I was like, I'm not coming to school. And
Right.
so I started skipping and, hanging out with older kids. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I got introduced to like harder drugs
Mm-hmm.
and just got in with some shady people. So I was there about a year and then I moved back up here.
Mm-hmm. Did
When
your
I-
family move back up
My
here?
family eventually moved back up here. I
Okay.
came up first.
But what sparked that? How? Why?
I think we were planning on moving back up here,
yeah.
but like to keep my school right, I
Okay.
like came back up and lived with a friend, which was not the smartest idea on my parents' part because I, kind of could do what I want
Right,
over there.
Right. I
yeah,
understand.
so
right.
I came up here and I feel like everyone was just who I was hanging out with before was like all into harder drugs
Right.
all of a sudden.
Right.
So I started, immediately jumped right in. So fast forward, by the time I'm 18, I'm already using IV, heroin.
Yeah.
And that all started with the whole Oxycontin thing.
Yeah.
It was like one of my friend's moms was a cancer patient, and she just gave them to us.
Right.
So like that's how that started. But then like the whole thing with all those being cut off the streets, like I went to IV heroin.
Right.
So by 18, I was already such a mess that I went into treatment, got sober. I was sober for probably a couple of years.
Wow. At
But
18.
mainly
So all of this before 18.
all of this, I was 19 when I got out of rehab. Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason I see it now, like I stayed more sober because I like ended up, having a kid.
So you had a kid when you were...
I had a kid when I was 20.
Okay.
And
you were sober.
I was sober.
Okay.
And her mom wasn't really ready. She was in the program too.
Okay.
She was in recovery.
Yeah.
She wasn't really ready.
Yeah.
She was young, started, partying again. So
Right.
like I ended up like a single dad, and I just never thought that would happen. You know what I mean? You have this image as a kid, like, oh, I'm gonna have mom, dad, you know what I mean? It'll stay like that.
Yeah.
So that tore apart like almost by the time she was 7 months.
Right.
So I was a single dad, and I stepped up and I did it. And I worked a lot and just like struggled, to make ends meet. But I still like didn't use, but I also stopped doing like my recovery stuff eventually because that became the priority.
Right.
And I know now that's like where I went wrong, but I was also super young.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
And
you did what you got to do.
Right.
So
I just did what I had to do.
it happens.
Right. And I had to work so much, and but either way, that's like really an excuse. Eventually, like her mom started doing better, and I probably was carrying some resentments that whole time, against her. And eventually she started taking her sometimes, so then I had like that free time too.
Yeah.
So like I ran into the wrong person and didn't have any tools, and I was right back at it.
Yeah.
And I went on a methadone clinic pretty soon after that because I knew where I was going.
Right.
And that was probably a really bad idea too.
Yeah.
I was stuck on that for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So I was raising my daughter
Were
on
you still
methadone.
using too?
I wasn't using it.
Well, that's
Right.
something.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah,
yes,
for
but,
sure.
I was raising her. I was just stagnant.
Yeah.
Put it that way. I was just
Right.
stagnant.
Yeah.
I definitely made ends meet and worked. And
Would you say that the methadone just prolonged the misery? Or are you grateful that you were able to have it there? You know what I mean?
And it's way better than nothing. But at the same time, I was like building a stronger, addiction, like
Right.
behind the scenes.
Because
I was stagnant.
They say methadone, Suboxone, whatever, like keeps people alive until they're ready to do the work.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Because I have so many mixed feelings about it. So I'm
Yes.
just curious to know.
From my experience, I don't really know much about Suboxone, but I mean, it can't be much different. But I know the clinic, you had to like go there every day.
So it just adds an extra step into the misery.
Right. And you were stuck there. So like you
Right.
can't travel,
Right.
nothing, because you need to get
And
it.
then it's not like treatment. It's not like you're
No counsel, nothing.
right.
There's
Right.
nothing.
You're just going there to dose. It's just a legal drug dealer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So eventually, there was one day too. I was there for almost 3 years. I had take homes, clean urines.
Yeah.
I was just working, doing my
Yeah.
thing. And this one day I went in there, and the next day was when they told me. But I went in the next day, and my like number was off the sheet, and they went,
What does that
we
mean?
need to talk to you. And they thought I cheeked it, so they immediately discharged me. So I was like,
What do you mean your number was off the sheet?
like you have to sign in on a little paper when you walk in the door every morning
Okay.
next to your like patient number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were just like, we're discharging you?
They
You're
just kicked
not
me
getting
out.
your dose
They
today?
didn't give me no questions asked, discharged me. I was on like 200
That's just like so unethical.
and I was on 200
People can
200
die like Wow, that's really messed up.
So I was on 200 milligrams and I got really sick. Like I called everywhere, and this is when methadone was really popular.
Yeah.
So none of the clinic had an opening for like at least a month. So I'm like, I guess I'm doing this. So
What, detoxing?
yeah, I guess I'm just doing it. So
You were just gonna cold turkey detox.
yeah, I called work and took like 2 weeks off, and 2 weeks later was like when it was starting. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Methadone detox takes months.
Yeah, it was brutal.
So tell us about it.
So I ended up so sick that my heart had problems. I was in the Concord Hospital, like on an EKG machine. I almost had a heart attack.
So you did the detox.
I
weren't
did most of it.
I'm gonna
yeah.
get some heroin to wean myself down. Like
I was trying not to.
I get that.
Yeah.
But so you didn't do
I
that.
tried to not do it.
Good for you.
The doctors gave me like a lot of Ativan, and
Okay.
I was trying to just tough it out. And eventually I broke.
Okay. How long?
It was at least a month.
Wow, good for you,
Yeah.
man. Seriously.
So yeah, after that, life was a real like struggle. It was like in and out.
So you cold turkeyed off 200 milligrams detox.
Yeah.
And didn't relapse.
Yeah, no, not
That's
till later.
that's really impressive. I'm impressed with you.
It was rough.
So keep going.
So, I eventually started using it again, and like things just progress. So, by this time I was down in Nashua living, and I go to some dark places when I use. I live in cars, and like you would see me today, and like you'd never think. So, but
I can relate.
most of my runs were, living in a car, burning everything I could possibly, anything I could utilize to like keep going, and living in the car and no gas in the snow, stuff like that, and just doing things that I never would have thought I could morally do, and I'd get a little period of sobriety, go back out, a little period of sobriety. I just didn't think I don't think I really had enough. Eventually, it took some real deep, dark places to.
So, was your daughter now living with mom?
So my daughter was now with mom. She tried to, take full custody,
right?
Which I never did any of that to her.
Right.
So like the
that
resentment
fueled your
was just
resentment,
like, oh, yeah.
like really bad. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So
now we're living in the car. We're using.
So I got sober. I went to several different treatments. During.
So was there like a point? Like, did you get like arrested, overdosed? Did something happen, or was it just like I don't want to live like this? I'm gonna try to find another
So I
way.
thought that had happened a couple times, and I got like these little periods of sobriety.
Yeah.
But like I always would go back to like trying to fill it with like outside things, like the good job or the car or whatever it may be. And so this last run I was on, so now this is like 5 years after the methadone. I was just like struggling. That whole 5 years was brutal. This last run was just, I ended up with like federal charges, doing some things that I just, I started selling.
So you ended up
all
locked
that
up?
stuff. Yes. So I did get picked up eventually. Yes.
Yeah.
Several times. And then, I was also like doing meth and heroin both at the same time. I was selling them.
Yeah.
Nashua detectives were well after me.
Right.
Yeah. So I got to a point where I knew, like, because of like things I was involved in, I knew I was being like followed around. And I was so messed up all the time that, living in hotels, running to Mass, staying in Mass, trying to jump hotels, like paranoid. It was brutal. But I was like to this point where I'm either going to federal prison or like the show Intervention is like following me. I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I finally just threw in the towel. I didn't have any charges. Like I didn't.
So were you in like a meth psychosis? Like it sounds like a little bit of paranoia.
Maybe that could be it. But then I like got sober. I went to treatment. Like threw in the towel. Like this is way more than I've ever like.
So you surrendered.
I completely surrendered. Like went back to treatment. Nothing forced me to do that. I didn't have like, I was out on bail and stuff, but I wasn't like
You were just like, I
forced
can't
to
do
go
this
there. You know
anymore,
what I mean?
right?
It was done.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to Keystone Hall here in Nashua.
Done that? Yeah.
I've been there like 5 times.
Okay.
So,
Can
but
relate.
this time, like they never gave up on me over there either.
Yeah.
And so when I got out this time, I did.
Go to Rise Above.
I didn't go to Rise. I went to Solution House or something.
Okay.
Which I've been to Rise in the past, but I went to Solution House for a short time. But I had I had like a bunch of charges pending. So I was like in court in Manchester and Nashua, and I was bouncing around doing that, working, you know, and that was like within the first couple months. So when I was outside an AA meeting in Nashua, after I'd just been to court in Manchester, I was outside an AA meeting in Nashua, and they, you know, the detectives rolled by, and, you know, I saw them go by again, and then they came pulling in, and I was right out front of like the church on Main Street.
Yeah.
And they come running up to me. They're like, "Oh, we had to pass by you a couple of times. We didn't recognize you." You know what I mean? Because that's like that couple months, you know, starting to put on a little weight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, you know, what's going on?" They're like, "We got warrants for you." So I had to, you know, I had to go face some more stuff.
Yeah.
And things definitely got worse before they got better when I got sober.
Yeah.
Like the difference was like I actually was done.
Yeah.
I was like finally done.
Yeah.
You know, and I went in there, faced that stuff. It was, you know, turned into like another big court process where I had court in 3 different cities, and there was like the feds were involved with some of it. And
so did you do some jail time sober?
I didn't have to.
Oh, well, that's good.
And the good thing about like what happened was I was about to go to trial because my lawyer was fighting it. They wanted to put me away for like 4 to 7 years minimum. And my lawyer was like, he shouldn't go to jail because like he's doing all this stuff, and it's only counterproductive.
Yeah.
So we were about to go to trial. We had like a couple weeks before trial, and this judge came up with the idea to do a settlement conference with so it's called like a settlement conference. And I met with a retired judge, the prosecutor who was against me, and my lawyer was there. And it was like a closed thing where this retired judge acts as a mediator, and they try to get you to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
But like the beauty of this was, and I didn't know it would happen like this, I got to tell my story to this prosecutor who didn't know me at all. And several times in the past I'd gotten charges dropped in Nashua, so like they were trying to get me in trouble.
Right.
So, but I got to tell my story from like right from the start to this lady, and she ended up in tears.
Yeah.
And she immediately just agreed to like probation and you know, to keep doing what I was doing and stuff.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit, I ended up moving out to Keene. I moved out there with a trash bag and a bike I stole from a sober house out here. And and I went from that to just finally taking responsibility for my own things and having to like earn stuff myself without like calling dad or having help from somebody else. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Fall right on my face and have to earn stuff and just own what I've done. And, you know, I got very involved in recovery in AA. And I went from, you know, living in a sober house out in Keene, it was called Live Free, and in a trash bag, to like getting a little job. And then I just knew I had more potential than like I think I ever sought out. And so I eventually...
God's plans are bigger than your dreams.
Right. And I just think I belittled myself too much or whatever. But I ended up like, I was working for this guy doing landscaping, and he didn't really want to do stonework and stuff anymore. And so he started like letting me go look at some jobs. And so it branched from there, and I like, you know, started my own business.
Yeah.
I started an LLC, and today's like, I'm 2.5 years sober, and
Congratulations.
I have a business, I have employees, I have a roof over my head, I pay my bills, and I enjoy life today. And
You have
it's
a new
just
baby.
new baby, 6-month-old boy.
What's his name?
His name's Dominic.
Oh,
Yeah, and I can be there for him. And also my daughter, who I hadn't seen in 3 years, I see her now, and I
Wow.
talk to her on a daily basis.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
she's now 10.
Wow.
So it's just a beautiful thing. I didn't rush to like get my daughter back or anything this time. I just worked on me.
Yeah.
And it's weird because you don't think that like just working on yourself ends up, everything else just falls into place. And like the most coolest things have happened. I now like sponsor guys in recovery. And I just, I love what I do for work now. And I go to meetings all the time. And I
still do lots of meetings.
I do lots of meetings, yes.
Good.
Lots of meetings.
Good.
And I try to do service work in them, all that type of stuff.
So thank you so much for sharing all that. What is one thing that you think is most important? If you had to like, someone's in early recovery and they're like desperate to try to build a new life, what do you think is the most important thing that they can do?
I think the most important thing is to like cut yourself a break, and like that it's okay to get recovery. It's okay to surrender. It's okay to like,
Be where you're
admit
at.
you need help. Right.
Yeah.
It's okay where you're at. The mess is okay because it will like, I don't know, help me grow.
Right. And it will clear up.
It does
It'll
clear.
go away.
Absolutely does clear. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Unless you have anything else to say.
I think that's it. I
That's
appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing and being so open with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a great evening.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.